What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. If you've been following, you might have recently seen the video I posted of the trip my wife and I took to Switzerland last summer. Today's video is going to be going over the gear that I packed, specifically the clothing. Now, I'm not gonna go over every single item of clothing I packed, but I'm gonna go over the items that I felt like did a lot of the heavy lifting. The items that kept me comfortable when it was raining or cold, and the items that were really versatile and that I could wear without thinking about. This trip was actually one of the more unique ones as far as the different weather we ran into. At the start of our trip, it was warmer, around the high 80s and 90s for the temperature, and pretty sunny. And then in the second half of the trip, we were in the mountains and ran into rain, temperatures in the 30s and 40s, and even snow at one point. So in this video, I'll go over a couple of the items that I think were very valuable to have, and then I'll probably explain at the end maybe one thing I would change. Let's get into it. I'll start off with what I believe is probably the most important thing that I packed, and that was my Patagonia Torrentshell 3L rain jacket. The 3L stands for the 3-layer construction that Patagonia uses to make this thing breathable but also water resistant. Patagonia treats it with a DWR finish so that the water beads up on it and falls off easily. The pit vents right under the arms. If you start to feel a little hot, you can just unzip these and let a little air through. So the hood is great. It's got this kind of structured hem here that makes sure it doesn't droop. And then on the back, it's got a little cinch here that you can pull and make sure that it cinches around your head so you don't have any unnecessary movement. One of the best features is just its packability. So you can actually pack the jacket into one of the side pockets in the bottom. It kept me dry, that's pretty obvious. But the other reason I loved it is because it's a great wind blocking layer. It wasn't raining the entire time we were there, but there was a couple of moments where the wind was just harsh enough, so having a jacket that could keep it off of me was great. And the fact that it was so easy to pack meant that I could just keep it in my backpack at all times. The second item of clothing that I packed on this trip that I felt like was super valuable was this Best Made Famous Wool Pullover. Best Made was a company started by Peter Buchanan Smith, and initially they started making axes, and from there they expanded their line to clothing and other tools and products that were meant to stand the test of time. 10 years after the company started, the founder left, and not long after that it was sold to Duluth Trading Company. But at the end of 2023, Peter actually got the opportunity to buy the company back, and he did. So I'm actually really excited to see what's going to come from Best Made in the coming months. If you are interested as well, you can go onto their website and sign up for their email newsletter and learn about what they have in store for the coming year. So this was one of their, I guess you could say, flagship products. It's a 100% wool pullover in this beautiful red color. Now, wool is actually one of the few natural fibers that people recommend for hiking, mostly because of its ability to dry quickly and shed moisture, but also keep you warm at the same time. The nice thing about wool is that it still retains its thermal regulating properties even when it's wet. So that was why I wanted to make sure to pack a good wool garment. And this is probably one of the favorites that I own. Now, this is a pretty simple garment. There aren't really any standout features, but the construction is just incredible. They stitched in some extra little elbow patches. The two front chest pockets are actually big and usable, so I'll slip small things like cards, maybe my wallet, or just easier access items I'll throw in there. I kind of wish I got a full button-up shirt. A lot of times when you're moving and hiking and things like that, it's nice to be able to open it up and let some air through. So the fact that it's a pullover does mean that you don't get that versatility. It's easy enough to pull over other garments, and it's not so thick that you can't throw a jacket over it. So the rain jacket that I mentioned previously, I could get that over it easily. It's just a really nice, handsome garment that's also super functional. All right, so next up is the Uniqlo two-way stretch active pants. These pants are a 90% nylon, 10% spandex blend. They offer UV protection and quick drying technology, and they're super affordable. They offer just the right amount of protection and breathability. And because they stretch so much, they're perfect for being on a plane or a train or just traveling in general. A couple of features to note, one is the drawstring. Uniqlo does this in a lot of their pants and I love it as a feature. And while Uniqlo doesn't call them hiking pants specifically, I do love using them for hiking. Next up on this list are the Tobo Designs River Shorts. These are a blend of nylon and spandex. I believe it's a 96% nylon to 4% spandex blend. They're pretty minimal shorts. They don't have a zip or a button. All they have is this nylon belt. They've got 2 front slash pockets and then a back zipper pocket. They work really well as a casual short, but then I also really like them for hiking because they have quick drying fabric just like the Uniqlo ones. They're just light enough to be great shorts in warm weather without feeling delicate. I think these shorts really impressed me the most when we were in Lucerne and we took a trip to Mount Regi. We did a day hike to the top and came down to the bottom where we jumped in Lake Lucerne that evening. What was great about them was I didn't have to pack another pair of swim trunks with me. I could just jump in the water and it really didn't take more than 20 minutes for them to be dry after I swam a little bit. So that meant I only had to take 1 pair of shorts for the whole day. I wish they had at least 1 more pocket, maybe down in the leg or a second butt pocket. Just having 3 seems a little bit limiting, especially if you're hiking. Now the next item on this list might be an odd one to include, but I think it's really important that you put thought into the socks you wear. It's not fun having sweaty or wet socks when you're hiking or doing any other activity really. These ones are from a brand called Rototo. I bought these from Standard & Strange's website. And the reason I love them is because they're a blend of mohair and wool, and they're actually reversible. So one side is the mohair and the other side is the merino wool. The properties of mohair and merino wool are awesome to have in a hiking sock. I pretty much exclusively wore these socks on this trip anytime I was wearing my hiking boots, mostly because of their ability to wick away moisture and keep my feet warm without keeping them sweaty. So the final product that I'll talk about that I feel like was probably the most important product that I took on this trip were these Danner Mountain Pass boots. These are a leather upper, stitched down construction hiking boot from Danner. Danner is a pretty legendary boot company based in the Pacific Northwest. They got their claim to fame by making a really inexpensive hiking boot back, I believe, in like the 60s or 70s. These aren't their flagship hiking boots, but other than the Gore-Tex liner, I'm not really sure what makes the flagship hiking boots. It's their Mountain Lights. I don't know what makes them so much better for hiking because Danner actually markets these as a kind of like city to trail boot. But I personally prefer just the more, I guess you could say, basic upper construction of these. I got these resold right before our trip. One of the benefits of Danner is that you can actually send the boot off once the sole has worn out and they will resole it for you. And my whole experience with that was pretty great. Not only did they resole it, they sent it back in like a fresh box, they reconditioned the leather, they gave me new laces and new inner soles and some stickers. They even sent me like before and after photos to see the kind of transformation of restoring my boots, because the sole was almost bare in some parts and you could barely even tell that the tread was there. I don't think I would ever travel without these. Even if I maybe wouldn't be hiking a bunch, I still would probably take my Danners because I just find them to be incredibly comfortable and they're a boot that I just don't have to worry about. So if you've made it this far in the video, you're probably wondering if there's anything I would have changed as far as my packing arrangement or if there's anything I would swap out. And to be honest, I was pretty happy with everything I packed. I never really felt like I overpacked or underpacked. Every scenario that I ran into, I had something that could keep me comfortable in it. But I think if I was going for packing lighter, I would have swapped out my best made wool pullover for this. This is the Patagonia R1 Air. There were quite a few times that after hiking maybe a challenging climb or something like that, I would pull the wool pullover off and have to stuff it in my backpack. One thing about wool is it's pretty thick and heavy, so having that big garment in my backpack was just kind of weird and awkward. And I actually recently got this for a snowboard trip that I took to Colorado, and I was using it as a mid layer under my snowboard shell. But I realized since being back home, even in these winter months, it's a great layer on its own for running in the cold or cycling in the cold, because it does an incredible job of finding that balance between breathability and warmth. Between this and my Patagonia Torrentshell, I have a lot of options for regulating my body temperature, both with the pit vents in the Torrentshell and the ability to unzip it. And then this by itself keeps me just warm enough to where I'm not uncomfortable, but I'm not overheating whenever I'm being active. And that's really the intent of a garment like this. It's to keep you warm enough without overheating when you're being active. I wouldn't recommend something like this if you're just sitting at a cafe or something like that in cold weather, because it's not like down where it's just meant to just trap heat. They intended this garment to be probably one of the more breathable cold weather garments you could get. That about wraps up my favorite garments that I packed on my trip to Switzerland. If you like this video and you want to see more about the gear that I packed, whether it's the camera gear that I used or the backpack I use, please let me know in the comments, and like and subscribe if you want to continue to watch this content. Thanks for watching.